Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Masanda Fan Vlog. Actually the last episode of the 2024-2025 season. Last group stage game of the Club World Cup against Fluminense. Where do we begin? I'll begin with the result. I think the result is a result that I actually predicted. Someone texted me today and asked me what do I think, or what do I think of today's game. And I said I feel like it'll either be a 1-1 or a 0-0 draw, but I don't see either team scoring 2 goals tonight. If you go back to Fluminense's game against Borussia Dortmund, and you look at our game against Borussia Dortmund, you can see the contrasting style of plays between Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund, because Fluminense, I think today's game, you can say it was a press off. It was a battle of the presses. I think Fluminense pressed us very well. There were a lot of instances where you saw us clearing the ball from the back instead of persisting with our build-up. And we also pressed them very good, not as well as they pressed us, but we also pressed them very well. Ikram Reina's renaissance of Lucas Ribeiro was not even able to play his game to the fullest tonight. But yeah, all in all, I think a game against Borussia Dortmund was more, of course it was more entertaining, but I think it was a bit more impressive than the first game against Ulsan and the game tonight against Fluminense. But obviously, one of the best teams on the African continent against one of the best teams in Brazil and also in South America, because they consistently compete in the Copa Libertadores, and they are Club World Cup finalists from 2 years ago, I think. So it wasn't a game that you can look at and say you are disappointed by Sundowns' lackluster performance, because I honestly feel like it was our of the 3 games that we played, it was the worst of the 3 games. But I think it's also due to the fact that Fluminense didn't give us any space to play. They pressed us very well, and I think also their defense is a bit more refined and a bit more polished than Borussia Dortmund's defense. I thought against Borussia Dortmund we could have had them, especially in counter-attacks, because they were really not good in their defensive transitions. But you could see with Fluminense, I mean, in the first half, we did create a few half chances, and we did also create I think one very good chance, the one that Teshrik fluffed, and I think is the one that everyone will talk about, I assume. Also, I think because he missed the glorious chance in the Champions League final, and he missed our one very good chance tonight. So I think it'll obviously get people talking. But as much as I'm also frustrated with Tashrik, I honestly feel like we've seen Shalulile miss those chances. We've seen Mshishi miss those chances. Iki doesn't miss a lot of chances, but we've seen those before, man. And I think, like I said after our game against Borussia Dortmund, that we are honestly our worst enemy in big games, because if you look at how we lose big games, and it's mostly due to our own mistakes. It's due to us missing glorious chances like we did tonight. But all in all, I think if you look at this tournament, it's a tournament that for us you can be proud of Sundowns, going to the Club World Cup. And I mean, obviously, it's not a good. The report won't be glowing that you won one game, lost one game, drew one game, but I'm just glad that we were able to make a mark, and also gauge how far we are from the big boys of world football, how far we are from the Europeans, South Americans, and Asian. The best of what Asia has to give, the best of what South America has to give, the best of what Europe has to give, because we are the best of what Africa has to give. To be honest, it's really difficult to have like honest and sober thoughts about our team. I'm sitting here like 24 days after the second leg of the Champions League, which I feel is a game that, honestly, any hope I had on Coach Miguel died on that day. I think it's the one game that really like disappointed me a lot, and that left me with more questions than answers when it comes to Coach Miguel Cardoso. And if there's one thing that we can't run away from right now, is what's the English word? The persistence of having Arthur Salles get guaranteed minutes, no matter how he performed the previous games. They are just subs that you see that these subs are fixed and they are not gonna change, These subs are like the Arthur Salles sub. It doesn't matter who you take out. It doesn't matter like which minute of the game. It doesn't matter who's not giving us their best on the pitch, or it doesn't matter. Sometimes, a team will find themselves maybe in the second half, and maybe like all they need is just like some time on the pitch to figure it out, but around the 55th minute, 60th minute, I think anyone who's playing in the front four, you just start wondering amongst yourselves that who's coming off, because Salles has to come on. Whether he gives us anything on the pitch or he doesn't, it doesn't matter. He will come on the pitch, and like he's done in the Club World Cup, offer us absolutely nothing. You just get left defeated, because you wonder, is there any other? Are we fighting for the same thing as Sundowns supporters, the club? Is it Coach Miguel Flemingberg versus the supporters and the club, or are we one in this thing? I honestly don't feel like we are one. There isn't like a connection, to the powers that be. The powers that be being the coach, the sporting director. It doesn't feel like we are pushing for the same goal, because it honestly feels and looks like there's a particular agenda that is being pushed with certain players on the pitch. And there's also our agenda of wanting to win football games, wanting to win major titles. But, like I said, I think it's difficult and it's tough to give a sober analysis of this season, give a sober analysis of the Champions League and the Club World Cup, but I think I'm more proud of the performances in the Club World Cup than I am of the performances on the Champions League and some of the decisions that were taken there. Anyway, back to this game. The most dangerous thing you can have is me alone rambling on my Sundowns vlog instead of having like a clue on there who will, help me regulate my thoughts. But yeah, I think it was just one of those games where I doubt there's a Sundowns supporter who will say, let me rewatch that game and maybe see, what we could have done better, or maybe let me like judge this player's performance and whatnot. It's just an unforgettable performance. It's a forgettable performance, I meant to say. And I think the only thing we brought to the Club World Cup is the flair that the Europeans have been raving about, and that performance against Borussia Dortmund. But other than that, there's nothing else that we offered to this Club World Cup campaign. No African team in the knockout stages. But going into this competition, or when I thought about this competition before the Champions League final, I thought we would go there and do well for ourselves, but it ends with us on 4 points after 3 games, and more questions than answers. But somehow we will find the silver lining. I think all we need to do also as supporters is just to take a break from football. These players deserve a break. They've had a grueling season, grueling season, and it's obvious that the next season is going to be even more grueling because there's AFCON as well, and then there's the World Cup at the end of next season. But I think these guys deserve a break. They've given everything. Some have given everything. Some has been a forgettable season. Some has been an on and off season. But I think all in all, most of the guys on this group have to be proud of themselves, proud of the performances that they give throughout the season. Lucas Ribeiro has to be proud of the season he just had as well. A lot of players, but obviously like Lucas is the standout player, or Ikram Renas as well. Most of all these guys, they deserve a break now. Get a break, rest, and preseason should be starting in the next three weeks, I think, 3 to 4 weeks. And I think we all need a break from football, man. I think we will also have like sober thoughts once we've had a break from football. Otherwise, I think we'll keep, or at least I know, I will keep rambling about the coach. I'll keep rambling about the Champions League final, But yeah, I think it was a below par Club World Cup performance. Just one game that was a standout. We could have done better. We could have done so much better. Could have done better. But, should have, could have, would have. This game, below the standard of this team. But it goes without saying that we were playing against a very strong team, a very, very strong team. I think we don't need to bash these players more than they deserve to be bashed, because they were up against a very strong side. Obviously, the performance was not pleasing. It's also hard to do ratings when I'm alone, but I'll give it a shot. I think Ronan today didn't have much to do, but when he was called, when he was tested, he answered all the questions that they posed to him. I think a 6 out of 10. Kuliso a 6.5. Keanu, you could see that his legs were gone because from not having much minutes since he was signed in Jan to starting all the Club World Cup games shouldn't have been easy for him. I think a 6 as well. Grant a 6. Divine had a better performance against, I think Divine's best game was the first game against Ulsan. Also, if you told me before this Club World Cup started that Aubrey would play 0 minutes in the Club World Cup, I would have laughed it off. But yeah, it happened. Yeah, no. Some of the coaches' decisions are really have been shocking to say the least. But yeah, man, it is what it is. Divine, I think it's a 5 today. I still stand by my words when it comes to our midfield that it seems as if Debs is the only one who's giving us steel, giving us physicality. He's the only one who's, fighting. Marcelo has good passing percentages, but when you look at the duels, ground duels, aerial duels, it doesn't look good. And I think it's also the reason why you see Debza with all the yellow cards in this tournament. But yeah, I think I'll give Debza a 6.5. I'll give Marcelo a 4.5. It's so weird to give a 4.5 without a disapproving look from Neo. Temba, I think I'll give Temba a 5. I know no one will be happy about that. Tashrik, I think a 3. And what I will say about Tashrik is that sometimes there are moments where you feel like the coach has to help a player. There are moments where a coach has to save a player. I remember there's a game we played against Chiefs. I think it was January 2019, where Musa Libusa started as a left back and Gaston was playing on the left wing. And in the first half, I think it was Walusimbi. Was it Walusimbi? No. There was a Chiefs left back who went to Skukune. I don't remember his name, short, stocky. His name just escapes my mind. He was, as Millendorp played him on the right wing, and he was just receiving ball after ball and having his way with Musa Libusa. And Coach Pizzo did the right thing at halftime because he realized that Gaston is not tracking back, is not helping Musa. And that's what I saw with Tashrik. If you look at the goals against Borussia Dortmund, most of them came on our left side, on their right-hand side. And I think it's also due to, against Dortmund, there is 1 or 2 clearances that Tashrik made, or last-ditch tackles that he made. But all in all, he hasn't really helped Divine much. And also the miss. I think Tashrik didn't have a good game today. And also wasn't really up to the task in the Club World Cup. I honestly feel like today's game, a few more players should have gotten a chance. The fact that Spelele, Neo Maema didn't really get minutes, Shaluli only got 7 odd minutes for the entire Club World Cup. it's really mind-boggling. These are the players who helped us qualify for the Club World Cup. Neo Maema, Peter Shalulile, Spelele, all those players just rotted away on the bench, But yeah, Tashrik 3, Ikram Reynas, I'll give him 5.5. Our best player in the Club World Cup, Lucas Ribeiro, I will give him a 7.5. Tashrik robbed him of a brilliant assist. His one shining moment of the game against the Brazilian team. Tashrik one-on-one with the goalkeeper and doesn't finish. But yeah, it happens. Off the bench, Jaden, I wasn't really impressed with him. I think also the game was just too physical for him. Came on for Debza in the second half. But yeah, he was one player that I was really looking forward to seeing in the Club World Cup, because since he came at Sundowns, he's been performing very well. But I don't think in the Club World Cup he's done that well for himself. But I mean, it's also like a learning curve. I'll give Jaden a 4.5. 4.5. You let me know in the comments if I'm being too harsh with my ratings. Who else came on? Who else but Sales? I really don't even have a rating for Sales. I don't know. And I'm about to finish, but when you take off Shika, you take off Lucas, and all you're left with is Sales. Okay, you have Kutlwano, but I think one of the things that frustrate me with Coach Miguel is how sometimes we are left with no creative juice in our front four. And if Sales is not a striker, I understand he's not a striker. Everyone has been saying, Kent, you are harsh on Sales. He's not a striker. He even said it on Tabiso Musia's show that he's not a striker. But okay, cool, you're not a striker. But in the positions that you're playing, are you better than Lucas? Are you better than Kutlwano? Are you better than... Are you better than these guys? I know, I don't want to throw in Kutlwano in that conversation, but are you giving us better than what some of these guys are giving us? Are you giving us better than what Gaston used to give us? It's just frustrating because he just goes with the motion. He plays on one gear, no sense of agency. There's no sauce. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, you guys rate Sales for me in the comments, because I think I've just been too harsh on Sales, but I honestly don't feel like Sales has really fitted into this team. Kutlwano, to be honest, shame. Today's game was just... the quality of the game wasn't that good on our end. We just couldn't cope. With, I don't know if maybe also the conditions affected this game or what, but yeah. I think I'll just give Kutlwano a 5. Shalulile, I can't rate him. Didn't play enough. Also, the inconsistencies in our subs. For 2 games, Mutiba jumps the queue, and then one game, Kutlwano makes a difference, and then he comes on today, and then today you just throw in Shalulile. There's the inconsistencies in our subs, the inconsistencies in our attacking line. A team like Sundowns, so much is said about our depth, but I honestly feel like we don't use our depth to our advantage, because a team of Sundowns' depth should be able to change the game from the bench, but I don't see us doing much of changing the game off the bench most of the time. I know Kutlwano came off the bench and gave an assist. Lebo scored. But it's not consistent. It's not consistent. But otherwise, thanks for watching for so long, watching me ramble by myself. It's so late. Oh my God. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's the last episode of a match day review for the season. We will give you a match review in the coming weeks. I think let's just digest the season properly. Let's just talk about it before we put anything on camera, and let's just flush the season out of our system, and then I don't know what you're doing, whether we're digesting or flushing it out, but like I'm just throwing words out there. I think I'm also tired and sleepy now, but yeah, let's just wait for a week and a half, and then we'll give you a season review, and then we'll give you a season preview before the next season starts. Thank you so much, guys, for holding us down so far this season. All the comments, all the interactions, the engagement. Thank you so much. I know sometimes we haven't been on good terms, closing comments and saying some negative comments, but a comment is a comment, whether negative or positive. Someone took their time and their data to watch, and even if they didn't agree with what we said and they commented, we appreciate every comment, every like, every watch. And yeah, we promise to give you a good review in maybe 2 weeks time. We'll record it, and then we'll dish it up, and let's take a rest and forget about Sundowns for a while, and then we'll see you guys in the next coming weeks for the review, and then take another break before the new season starts. Thank you so much.